Get ready to the countdown.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and good afternoon to all Malaysian and Australian library, wherever you are. Welcome to our second international edition Sembang Santai Librarians IDEAS. I hope you can hear me well with our invited speaker all the way from Melbourne, Simon Haggard, Deputy Director Library Service, Swinburne University of Technology, and our core speaker, Mr. Muiz, Head of System and Information Technology from University Putra Malaysia Library. And I'm your moderator for today's session, Muhammad Faizal Hamza, and our co-moderator, Diana.
Hi, good morning. My name is Nurul Diana Jasmine.
Yeah, before that, we would like to take this opportunity to thank Malaysian Information System Librarians, MySYL, for giving us this opportunity to collaborate with Librarian IDEAS to invite our speakers all the way from Melbourne for this today's session, Sembang Santai Librarian IDEAS. Diana?
Okay, before we start, I will read about the disclaimer. The purpose of the live session today is for education and informational only. Neither the information, opinion, or view presented in this sharing session not be taken as a complete statement of summary. We really appreciate and welcome positive feedback from our viewers for improvement in the future. So for the viewers, if you have any questions for our panel, please type questions in the comment section in our Facebook page, Librarian IDEAS, and please follow the instructions from our technical team. We have TS Amirul today if you want to join us in our live session. Back to you.
All right, without any delay, let's introduce our speakers for today's session. Our invited speaker, Simon, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Simon Haggard. I'm Deputy Director Library Services at Swinburne University of Technology. The Deputy Director Library Services position is the University Librarian position, but our Library Services is within our Student Administration and Library Services division of the university. So I have a Director who is a Director of Student Administration, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Library Services.
All right, that's great. How's the weather there? I heard it's winter already.
Yes, we're in the middle of winter, and today is one of the colder days that we've had. So today it's about 10 degrees Celsius at the moment. I'm working from home, as you can see, so I've got the heating on in the house at the moment, and it's pretty wet and cold outside. So I'm actually glad to be in here in my office in my house.
Sounds great. Because I do love winter. What time in Australia right now?
So it's just gone past midday on Friday, so we're 2 hours ahead of Malaysia time. Yeah.
All right. So our core speaker for today's session, he's among the most popular young librarian in Malaysia, Mr. Muiz.
Hi, Assalamualaikum, and very good morning to Dr. Faizal, Puan Diana, and Simon. How are you, Simon? Nice to meet you today, even though we are going through this online session. So for a brief introduction, my name is Muizzuddin Kaspul. I'm a librarian and also a head of System and Information Technology Division at Sultan Abdul Samad Library, University Putra Malaysia, located at Sedang, Selangor. Okay, thank you.
All right. So we Librarian Ideas would like to announce that we will provide a certificate, the e-certificate to our viewer who attend virtually for this session. So the link for the certificate will be uploaded into our comment section by our technical team, PS
Yeah.
Amirul. So stay tuned because you will get the e-certificate from us. All right.
Yeah.
So without any ado, Diana, can we start our first question?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I will move to the first questions for the information for information to the viewers and also our speakers today. We have session 1 will be the ice breaking. Session 2 will be on the general issues on technology and library. So the theme for the today's session is technology and library. And then we have session 3, technology in the library. So I will straight go to the question number 1. I would like to ask Simon and also Muiz. We see that during this pandemic, physical library may have shut down, but as we can see, many libraries still offer a wealth of digital content for those who have internet access and elsewhere. So my question will be, what is the library users' response to the adaptation of technology and application used to deliver information during the COVID-19 pandemic? So Simon, can you respond to the first question?
Certainly, Diana, thank you. I just wanted to also mention that Swinburne University has a campus in Sarawak, so I just noticed someone put up a comment saying, welcome from Sarawak campus. Adeline, Sophia, thank you. I haven't met the people at our Sarawak campus yet. Swinburne has 3 campuses in Melbourne, in Australia, not very far out from Melbourne. Which is where I am, and we also have our Sarawak campus. And so I've only been in this position since the 15th of April, been working from home the whole time, so I haven't met everyone yet, so it's great to hear that people have tuned in from Sarawak. So I guess the issue with our library users during the pandemic has been that it was in Australia, everyone was told to go home and all our teaching was done online. At Swinburne, it happened on about the 27th of March. Everyone had to suddenly rush home with not much preparation, and our teaching was paused for a little while our academics then had to start to deliver their courses online to our students, no matter where they were. And it was a very sudden situation. So how our users responded to that is an interesting question. Certainly what we've seen is a lot of confusion over how are their courses being delivered. What does that mean in terms of what do they need to attend in terms of classes that are in their curriculum? What don't they need to attend? How are they being delivered? What platform are they being delivered through? At the moment, it's interesting, we have just this week we're preparing for our second semester intake of students, which starts on the 3rd of August. And we've had a huge explosion of queries from our students who don't really understand whether they're supposed to be coming on campus or studying from home. And so there's been lots of those questions coming in from our students. And so what we've tried to do is to provide a smooth experience for them as they've been studying online, and trying to answer their queries and trying to help them through that situation. So we've had a physical presence for our Ask a Librarian service, which I'll talk about a bit later on. And we did have an email delivery of that service, but we haven't had chat. We haven't had an online presence of that service, and we've had to suddenly deliver that online. So that's been a challenge for us in order to make sure our students know where to go and can find the resources that they need. There was lots of work that our staff had to do to find online versions of our resources for our students. So we have found that our usage of our resources has increased enormously because of students going home and working online, and mostly through ebooks is the interesting answer to that question. So our ebook usage has gone up quite a lot, but our e-journal usage, funny enough, went down. during that period. This is the period between, say, March and, I think we did some reporting last month in June. So 3 months, there's been quite a change in our usage of resources. So it has been a bit chaotic, and our role has really been to try to bring together the online services and have a smooth experience for our students. So that's really what's happened. I think one of the things that's been good for Swinburne is that we've got a good online presence anyway. We do have a brand called Swinburne Online, which delivers courses online to our students, and that it's a partnership with an organisation that is partly owned by Swinburne and partly owned by a company that delivers those online courses. But it meant that our library a couple of years ago really, over the last 10 years really, has put so much more of its material online that we really, we're in a good position where our resources are all online, but the change to COVID-19 was really providing our services online was the big challenge for us.
Right. Before Muiz answer the same question, I would like to ask about how big is the digital collection in Swinburne libraries?
So I can share my screen. I'll just do that now. So just if you give me a minute, I'll bring that up. So this is a bit of a history of Swinburne. So we started in 1909, and these are our Melbourne campuses here on the map. And we also have the Sarawak campus, which has about 2,500 students. But this is an image of some of our Hawthorn Library, and also some statistics around the size of our collections. So our physical collections are quite small now. If you look at this figure here, we have about 79,000 physical titles of books and ABN journals, which translates to about 130,000 items on our shelves in our libraries, which is not very big because we did a lot of change of moving out our physical collections over the last 10 years and really concentrating on our digital collections. So if we look at our e-journals, we have 159,000 e-journals. And if we look at our e-book collection, we have about 1.2 million e-books that we've purchased and owned through our collections. So we spend about 98.7% of our library budget for information resources on our digital resources. So it's quite a large number that we spend to provide digital resources to our students.
It's 1.2 million titles of ebooks. That's such numbers.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah, that's right. And we've really gone aggressively to make sure that we have that material for our students, and that certainly produces quite a lot of high usage. So 7.8 million downloads. This is last year, 2019, of our ebooks, and 3.2 million downloads of our e-journal articles. So it's this is really what we've been delivering for some time.
That's great. Miss?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Faizal, for the question. So I think maybe our situation in Malaysia are so similar with our friend Simon in Australia. So by my personal view, so I think and I feel that library users, especially students, has already embraced with this new norm, and they are able to adapt to the new technologies and applications that the library introduce or provide to them. So as we all aware, in Malaysia we have started Movement Control Order (MCO) since March 18, which is earlier from Australia. Okay, so since 18 March, all the activities such as book lending services, interlibrary loans, or physical process or transaction in the library need to be postponed. So most of the services are done and completed through online, and most of the works done by staff they are working from home, and we at the automation department also need to what we call to stand by and to ensure that all our contents, online content, especially the electronic resources and all portal, library portal, easy access portal are well maintained and can be accessed 24/7 every day without
Yeah.
fail. So I think that's the challenge for us at the automation department. So for your information, at UPM we start online class since 2015 if I'm not mistaken. So most of the students have adapted and familiar with the technologies on the video conferencing and online services, online classes. So I think maybe they don't have any problems to familiar or to use this technology. So another point, I think maybe most of the students or users respond positively to all activities that help by library because they are give a full support and they are attend and every day if we conducting an online class, there are a lot of students sign up to the class and attend the online class uh, during the pandemic. Okay,
All
that's all.
right.
Thank you.
Diana, before we you proceed to the next question, I would like to ask about how's the usage of the data, the usage of the digital collection. Just
Yeah.
now, Simon said that there is a huge different or significant towards the information needs by users in Australia. What about in UPM?
Okay, we also
Arm?
monitor the statistic of user access to our,
Uh-huh.
especially to our easy access server,
Mhm.
also known as easy proxy server, which is all student and registered student need to have authenticate the account
Mhm.
before they are allowed to access to all online journal and publication we subscribe. So based on our statistics, it shows that 15%, 50% increment of user access to portal user access, and then most of contents is related to the online journal, and I think maybe some of students are accessing to the thesis and dissertation that we subscribe, especially for the ProQuest.
All
Okay.
right.
Can I mention something that has come up for us is
Yeah.
that a lot of the
Yeah.
vendors have offered free access to their
Yeah.
resources over this time, and we've responded to some of those and made them available, but some we haven't. Just depends on which vendor it was. There's that's certainly been helpful with some of the resources where they it makes it easier for people to find the information. My phone is just talking to me. I don't know why. I think I asked the question. There you go. But anyway,
Okay.
so some of that has opened up usage and therefore increased usage of resources. But so we've had to put in work to enable access to those free resources in our discovery system. So we use Primo, the Primo search interface from Ex Libris at Swinburne. So it's been extra work to enable the access to those resources, and we've only done it where we thought it was relevant and better for our students. Some resources we haven't opened up because we were concerned that they would get access to something and then it would be turned off again. And many vendors turned off access to the free access to all their resources on the 30th of June this year. So
That's
there
great.
was a bit of work to sort of turn it on, turn it off, make it available or not. So that's been interesting for our users in terms of provision of access to resources.
Yep. Diana?
Okay, we move to the next questions that I believe many of us, especially as a librarians, are challenged. Even the ICT department, I believe they are part and they are also important as the frontliners. So I believe most of the librarians, they are coming with a good creative ideas to make sure that the services will reach to the library users. So maybe Simon and Muiz, you can share what are the new services and information technologies that can be introduced by the libraries during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. Yeah, I guess there's been, I know libraries in Australia, there's lots that have done had created services to be able to ask a librarian and connect with librarians online, and many libraries have done that in different ways. Some have had Zoom sessions running all day long where they have say, an iPad at the desk, and if a user walks into the library, they can ask a question at that computer straight away through Zoom. At Swinburne, we've been working on using Microsoft Teams to provide that kind of service, and I'll cover that a bit later on and show a bit of what that sort of looks like. But Swinburne had, and I used to be at La Trobe University Library up until March this year, and both institutions we had only just started to use Microsoft Teams, and it was a very quick learning curve for everyone to make sure that we were using Teams effectively. And at Swinburne, we've enabled Microsoft Teams as an Ask a Librarian service where people can connect with a librarian and get the help that they need, and have a similar experience to what you're seeing now, where we can share screens, we can talk face-to-face, we've got the camera and the microphone, and be able to understand what the students' needs are and being able to help them through that. But we've looked at a range of things, and there's things like chat in order to be able to connect to librarians who are working from home. There's also social media with the usual social media channels to make sure we're connected to students very well. And then we've also been working on our mobile app at Swinburne to improve the delivery of services through the mobile interface. Because we had a previous mobile app that didn't really meet users' needs, and we got feedback about improving that. So we've had some students who've actually been developing the app with us and providing access to resources through the mobile app, which has been very helpful for students. The other thing that we've done at Swinburne is to refine our search interface through Primo, through our library search interface. What we've tried to do is sort of favour the results that when people do a search, that they come up and produce results which are for our own material that we've purchased through online, so that we deliver those more targeted results to our students, rather than sending them to results where it's going to cost us extra money because we haven't actually purchased that material yet through a user-driven acquisition, a DDA acquisition model. Which might cost us a lot of money if people start using material that we haven't actually purchased yet. So we've done work to try and favour material that we own, and we've also had to try and reduce the results that they get for physical books as well, because they're not able to access them. They are now. They have been since the 22nd of June in our libraries, but before that time they weren't able to access the physical books, and they weren't able to request them. We had to turn all that off. So lots of work that we had to do to refine the interfaces that we have and to try and direct resources to our students. The other thing that we have done is just through email communication direct to our users to try and connect through student newsletters, through student email, to tell them what we're doing and what our services are. But email can get very busy and can be ignored very easily. So it hasn't been easy to connect with our users and target that in the right way. Yeah, exactly. So that's something that we've also been kind of working through. How much email do we want to send to our users? What kind of response are we going to get? Are they going to ask a million questions when they respond to an email from a librarian? All those kind of things.
Yeah. Before Muiz responds to the Diana questions, I am interested to know more about the mobile apps. Does the mobile apps is developed by the university or the library?
The mobile app that we have currently was developed by a partner, a company that Swinburne partnered with, who delivered that application, and that was done for, I can't tell you the name of the company because I can't remember, I'm sorry. We used that for a few years, I think, and then and now that we're in a situation where the university doesn't have any money, so we've lost a lot of our student population. We've had to cut back on our costs. So any technology project that we want to do, we have to do it ourselves. So what we've decided is to use our own students to develop a new mobile app. So they're doing it for free, and they're obviously getting that gives them a project, an industry project that they can use as part of their studies. And they're working with our IT people, our ITS department, to help develop that mobile app. and they're also partnering with the library and with student administration and all the different areas of the university that need to be in that app to develop it and make it much more relevant for the students. So that's been a really good project.
How active your users engage with the library using the mobile apps?
I don't know. I can't answer that question. I haven't been in Swinburne long enough to know. They certainly use it to find out. There's some interactive content in there to find out how many computers are used in the library, how busy is it, where can they go to get help, all those sort of things. So from what I can tell, they're very active, but I don't have any figures for you. I don't know how that compares, with other institutions.
All right. Muiz?
Okay, thank you, Jana and Dr. Faizal, for the question. So for me, I think that during this pandemic COVID-19, this is opportunity for the library to redesign and redefine the new strategy for them, and to look at new technologies and any open source software application that they can implement to the library, so that they can proceed or their services to the user, especially students. So during this pandemic COVID-19 issue or period, our library at UPM, actually we have developed our own discovery service using GoFind, and then this discovery service make user more easier to search all the contents in one platform, so that they can use and utilize all the online resources that we have in the library. I think it's similar with Taiwan. They have Primo, and here I think in Malaysia, most libraries are using GoFind as their discovery service, and some of them are purchasing EDS, Summon, or what else. Okay, so and then secondly, we have also introducing our live chat before we close our services library. I think on March 16, 2 days before MCO implemented in Malaysia, our team already developed using Talk to application or platform as a platform for the reference librarian to answer all the question and reference question among the users. And I think this live chat is have a lot of questions and comments sent by the users to the reference librarians, and every day we have a question and when the library will be open, how they can return the books they have been loaned before the MCO period, and how about the fine, if they need to pay the fine of the books and etc. So we also provide one facilities for the students. Before this, our thesis and dissertation are available online on-site campus. But before the MCO, we have decided to allow users, especially students, to access our thesis and dissertation online off campus, but they need to register and access via our proxy server. So that's why our statistic on the access is become more increased, and a lot of students are happy with that. And then we are also promoting all the services, online services such as online journals, ETCs, and etc. through our social media platform, not only library social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We also use UPM, Music Malaysia platform official Facebook to promote our services, so that we can cater more students and we can reach our target audience. We also developing a lot of content in video and multimedia slides, and then we upload to the YouTube channel, so that this content can be watched and viewed by the user. I think that's all. Thank you.
How frequent the content creator posts in social media, in UPM library social media?
Before this, during the COVID-19 period, every day or almost 2 or 3 days, we are posting a new content at the Facebook. But right now, maybe on May or June we have already slowed down our promotion in Facebook and Twitter. Maybe after this we need to strengthen to increase our promotion. So because our library has already opened the physical operation to the students in
All right.
July. So maybe a lot of students doesn't aware about this current situation, and
Yep.
then we can promote to them to came to the library, and then they can study at the library and use the facilities at the library as a
Yep.
normal way.
All right. Okay. The pandemic has changed the library rules. The library it's converting from hybrid to virtual library, and we explore many options to provide online services to remote user due to the pandemic. Uh, well, I believe library try very hard to provide information required by our user using ICT technology or ICT application. Mode of information delivery, content delivery has changed user who unable to attend library or to people need to get information from our library. Simon, do you think that we should transform traditional or existing library service to other types of library service to ensure academic library or perhaps other library, other category library of to relevant in future?
Yes, it's a very good question, isn't it? I'm certainly keen for us to keep along that continuum of delivering online. I mean, the question, I guess, once the COVID-19 thing is over, if it's ever going to be over, let's hope it's over soon, is, how do we deliver those services? Is it a hybrid delivery in the future where we have some people delivering online and some people delivering face-to-face? What's going to be the best experience? So I think we need to think about it from a student user experience perspective, and what's going to be the best experience for the user. So at the moment, where our Ask a Librarian service is being delivered online, but we've also started to deliver a hybrid, what I've called a face-to-screen service for that service, where if a user walks into our library, because our libraries have just reopened again, but only for very limited services, so we're not having staff come into our library to deliver services unless they're absolutely essential. So some of those services we're delivering, which are more around our student administration area, so things like picking up ID cards or picking up results for their studies that they've had, those or paying enrolment fees, they have to do face-to-face. So those services are continuing. But for our Ask a Librarian services, we're continuing with it online. But if someone comes into our library, they can walk into a room and they can book into a computer and they can connect to the librarian online. And so the question is, should we, what's that going to look like in the future? And how is that going to look like from a user perspective? So is the experience better as a face-to-face experience, or is the experience okay as a face-to-screen experience, or should we just have it completely online? Yeah. I think the advantages of online delivery are that they can be delivered at different times, and you can be more flexible. You don't have to have a building open to deliver online delivery when the student needs it. So I think we should work on ways that allow the information to be delivered when the student needs it, and that could be it could be providing videos that provide the same answers that people need. It could be FAQs. It could be chat that's delivered when the students need it. I know there are institutions who are now looking at chatbots to be able to answer online questions from students in the middle of the night and everyone's asleep. So those kinds of services that allow good services that are accurate and provide good information, I think can be done in the future. But I think they take a lot of effort to get the information clear, so that when someone asks a chatbot, will I be fined for this book that's overdue, it can give a pretty clear question, but it's got to be tailored and it's got to be relevant to that student's question. So I think we should be working towards more of that kind of delivery, because that's what our users expect.
All right. Is cloud library will exist in future, Simon?
It's a very good question. When I worked at Monash University, I worked at Monash University in Melbourne for 16 years, and a very long time ago, we had the virtual library service at our Berwick, which kind of operated from our Berwick campus. And it was where we started to digitize everything, and we had the goal of digitizing everything and making it online, and that was the virtual library service. And, you know, we've all come along in different ways in delivering those kind of cloud services as a direct service from the library. And would we do it without a physical building? You know, should we be providing that as a service? It's very hard to know. I think as humans, we still like that face-to-face delivery, but that might be someone who is my age talking about that, but someone who is, say, 15 now, who'll be at university in 3 years' time, they may not want to have that face-to-face contact. But I think the learnings through COVID-19, I think generally show that people really do like face-to-face contact. They don't want to be locked at home. They don't want to be, you know, away where they can't talk to people. They really do like that face-to-face contact. So I think there will always be that aspect of, I just need to talk to someone, because doing something online, if you chat, or, you know, it can be misinterpreted and people don't really understand exactly what those needs are. I think a face-to-face chat sometimes makes that a lot easier and a much more satisfying experience for the user. So yes, I think a fully virtual library that doesn't exist without physical walls, I don't think it'll exist. I think it'll still be a hybrid model in the future.
Okay, Dr. Faisal, we have one question from our viewers. That is from Prabha Karan. I think he is from Pakistan or India. Thank you very much. I would like to ask this question to Mr. Muiz. What are the best way to attract users under the new normal to use library after the crisis COVID-19 pandemic or good? Maybe post MCO. Maybe you can share your opinion about this.
Okay, I think we have to work and do like as a normal way, and as long as we are following all the standard operating procedure they are given by our ministry and follow the rules that have been listed by the university. So I think, for example, we already opened our operation since last Wednesday, and we can look at a lot of some students already came back from their hometown, and then they came to the library to start their studies and what we call to finish their assignments and do their research at the library. It means that I think most of our students are already aware about this new normal, and they can adopt this new norm as a new norm, okay, for them, and then they can came to library every time if they want, but still they need to maintain or to follow all the SOP, especially the social distancing procedure. And then if they have symptoms, they have cough or flu, they do not need to come to the library. And then how to attract them to the library? I think maybe we need to introduce more new technology or new application that they use at the library. For example, we provide new a place for them to play games or have a social discussion with their friends at the library. I think that's all. Thank you.
All right. Simon, you want to add something on that question?
I think the pathways to discovery are an interesting one for libraries. I think discovery is going to change enormously in the next 5 to 10 years as we go for a sort of more open Athens kind of authentication, and perhaps move away from the easy proxy, the proxy authentication that we've used in the past. Proxy authentication has been based on where someone is aligned with a physical location with an IP address for your campus. In the future, I think it's going to be a lot different from that, and there will be a lot more online teaching and more online learning, and certainly I think online learning and teaching will be of a higher quality as a result of the pandemic, because everyone's had to do it. Everyone has to transform their teaching into a better online experience, and perhaps the universities that will do better will be the ones who have better online learning. And so for our libraries, it's probably the same, maybe it's the same kind of message in that the libraries that have better discovery of resources and linking to resources that make it easy, so that it's just one click, you find the resource, you get what you need, and it's kind of seamless. The ones who do that better will do better as well. So
Right.
I think we need to really work on that experience and make that easy for our users, because they're going to be everywhere, they're going to be online, they're going to be from home, they'll be in different places when they're studying.
That's interesting. We have one question, question from our users. Phineas Shafin, what do you think is the last impact of COVID-19 on digital libraries and their users? Simon?
I think it will be, I think it's that online experience. The lasting impact will be how they've engaged online, and I guess what their experience as learners will be, you know, in an online environment. So it's a bit hard to tell what the outcomes will be of COVID-19, and you know, will students just be, what will that new normal look like? So it is a bit hard to sort of understand what that is, but I think online delivery will be a much better experience. I think it'll be much higher quality. It'll be a better experience, and I think that means that the demands of our users and what they expect, that online experience, they'll expect it to be very high quality. So I think it'll be, you know, the skills and the services that we need to provide will need to be able to deliver that online really well. And then, as I said before, it's also that face-to-face as well. You know, there's still going to be a mixture in both regards.
Okay, perhaps my next question is for Muiz. In your opinion, what are the new rules for the librarian to improve library service in technology society's perspective?
Okay, thank you, Meta. So what are the new roles for the librarian to improve the library services? So in my opinion, there are a lot of new roles for the librarian, not only to improve the library services to the library, but also to ensure that the library and the librarians remain relevant today. So I think the first one is the library and the librarians need to explore more about the open access content or open access resources in the libraries, whereby librarians need to diversify and the contents and the resource and promote open access content among the university community. So if you know, most of the Malaysian library already have their own institutional repository, but some of them are using e-prints, DSpace, etc.
Space.
So maybe this is the right time for them to explore more and then to strengthen up their contents in the institutional repository so that the visibility of our content become more visible to the public all over the world. So the second one, I think maybe the new role for the librarian is to explore on the research data management program or activities in the library. So the library and the librarians need to equip themselves with the skills how to manage the research data, and then they need to engage with the faculty members, and maybe they need to explore more on how to manage the research data for today each situation. Okay, and then the third one maybe as we know, most of the class today are doing through online. So maybe librarian need to explore on the online courses more, and then maybe they need to have the ability to handle online class. For example, they need to establish their skills on how to manage the online class and become a good host for the online class. Before this, they are already familiar with face-to-face class, and then right now they are transformed to the online class. So that maybe they have the new skill or new roles for them to handle the online class situation.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Simon, we have another questions from the viewers from Adeline Sophia Ho. This is related with the question you asked, Muiz. The pandemic affects the libraries tremendously. Do you think all these changes affect the librarians themselves, where they need to adapt their IT skills?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think we've seen librarians already have to adapt skills really, really quickly. You know, as soon as they were sent to work from home, they suddenly had to deliver their services in a new way, you know, all of a sudden, and a big learning curve to understand how to interact with online technology and online services. So I think what we've seen is that people who are really good at it, you know, are surviving and thriving really well. Some people love this environment, and then other people, we find that their roles might be needing to be changed a bit. So we've got staff who still deal with physical resources and physical cataloguing and dealing with those kind of materials. You know, what's their role in the future as we reduce our amount of physical material that we deal with? So, you know, I think you know, we need to look at those roles and understand what they mean. I think there are a lot of skills that people will need for the future. So teaching skills online is really important. Being able to deliver a good classroom environment online is very different from delivering face-to-face. You need to be able to juggle a whole lot of things online, all these online questions, different faces on the screen, be able to handle noise in the background. You know, there's lots that people have already learned how to do. They've done it really well. But I think but sometimes there's a difference between just putting a video online and saying, watch this video, and then being able to understand, you know, what is the learner experience? So what are students actually learning? What are the learning outcomes that you want? What are the gaps in knowledge? How do you assess whether those learners who are remote from everywhere are actually understanding what you mean? You know, what kind of interactive content do you need to build to really understand how your users are learning? So things like H5P, which is the HTML5 online learning environments that are used as like a plug-in with learning management systems are, you know, becoming more important in terms of understanding how we can use quizzes and different technologies to really have a much better interactive experience for our students and get them to, and for us to understand, well, what is their learning journey? What have they understood through these skills, rather than, you know, you're on your own, here's the video, I'm going to go away now. It's really understanding a lot more about what those students are learning. And and I'd certainly agree with Muiz in terms of, you know, research data management, research skills. There's lots of skills in those areas that we're going to have to understand for our researchers as well.
Yep. Talking about skill, Simon, what are the skills required for the librarian in future, just in case there is new pandemic that forced library to fully operated virtually?
Yeah, I think the engagement skills are really important, just in terms of, it's not only just that engagement and how do I engage with students and with the academics, with faculty, but what technologies am I going to use that are going to make that work really well. And some of the time it's teaching those academics to come on board with particular technologies, and it's directing them towards the kind of resources online that they need to engage with, because some of them are still very focused on physical resources, those kind of things. And I think, again, teaching skills and research skills, you know, librarians have those skills already, but how do you then deliver those in an online environment? So understanding where the user is and what the technology is that the user is using. So that might be online profiles, it might be research data management skills, you know, in an online environment, sharing of data, and, you know, all sorts of skills in terms of, you know, the usual things like searching databases and being able to really target those skills well for our users.
All right. We have one question from our viewer. What is the Australian government view about library contribution during COVID-19 situations? Simon?
There's the Australian government and there's the Victorian government. It's the state, or there's each of the states of Australia. So Australia's response to the pandemic, the government provides a framework overall, and each of the states have to implement those guidelines based on what's happening in each of those states. The government, I guess the Council of Australian University Librarians has provided some input into policy around this kind of area, which has mostly been focused on open educational resources, as well as digital literacy and digital skills for users online. So I guess from a policy perspective directly to the government, that's what's been going on. Whether the government is listening to us and providing a response, we don't really know yet. They've got a lot to think about just in terms of health and those kind of areas. But certainly there's been, I guess, we have a lot of international students in Australia who come to Australia, and it's been very difficult to try and engage with the government to get financial support to support our universities in providing services online to those students. There's a big reliance in the academic market in Australia for funding that comes directly from international students. So, over 50% of our funding is provided by international students directly. And so if they're not here, then we lose half of our funding. And the government has responded in different ways, I guess, in terms of helping us deal with that issue. So we've had to do a lot of cutbacks in funding and a lot of cutbacks in staff, a lot of cutbacks in our spending in our universities to try and deal with that loss of income. So it's been quite mixed, really. But the libraries and universities are really lobbying governments hard. And so the Australian government has responded to try and link industry partnerships and industry internships and industry skills with our universities, and our libraries have been a part of that in opening up our services to try and help with that.
All right, Diana?
Okay, so we move to the next questions. I would like Muiz to answer this. I believe access to assistive technology may still be a challenge for the libraries. I'm very sure universities and also the librarian are willing to adapt and accommodate the needs of disabilities. So for UPM Library, how do you cater the technology that you already developed needs for disabled users?
Okay, thank you, Daniel, for the question. In fact, for this question, I think maybe I cannot share much information about the services for the disabled, because in UPM Library we still don't have any collections such as Braille collection or audio books that can be used by the disabled. But we still have facilities, for example, audio books that can be used through what we call from a co-host, from a co-host, and then online books they can use for the disabled. But our library is in the process of buying a Braille embosser machine and JAWS software in order to cater this group. So thank you.
All right. Simon?
Okay, just for addition, maybe some of the library, for example, Universiti Malaya and Universiti Teknologi Malaysia has already have their own collection for Braille, right?
Yep. But most of the blind students prefer to read virtual or digital version of the book instead of Braille, because everything about Braille is very costly. And they prefer to use Google instead of printed book.
I see.
Thank you. Simon, your reflection on collection or technology needs by blind students or blind users?
Yeah, so Swinburne has a disabilities unit that where students register and they get access to provide resources for our users, and they work really closely with our library staff. So we have two library staff who provide this service in our library. So we're very lucky in that we have that resource and people with experience who can provide that kind of help. We have we have technology such as screen readers and different equipment that helps people read material that they need, and the JAWS software as well we have in our libraries. I guess there's a new thing, which is we have a online streaming video service called Kaltura. So that's Kaltura, Kaltura, which we have embedded in our Swinburne Commons repository. And so the Kaltura software also has a module which provides an OCR conversion of, a video to text conversion of videos that allow that material to have transcripts of videos which will help students be able to engage with a video that they can't see, but they can, it'll read out the content, they can search for it, they can go to a particular part of the video and it'll take them to that spot in the video. That software, we don't actually have that module at the moment, that disabilities module, but we have staff that do some of that video transcribing for students if they want it, and we also go out and purchase. We have a service where we'll go to a company to say we'd like this video transferred into text, and they'll do that, and that will be put into that video streaming software, and so a user can go to it and they can engage much better with that video content. So we do have, I think, pretty good support at Swinburne for our disabled users, so we're pretty lucky in that sense.
Does the mobile apps is accessible for disabled users?
I don't know the answer to that question. That's a good question. Probably. I think I know we've talked about the WCAG, WCAG guidelines for accessibility for online content, that our whatever we develop is supposed to be in line with those guidelines, and there are pretty strict rules within Australia to make sure that online content covers those accessibility guidelines. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they would be developed in line with those guidelines. The challenges we have are with our vendor-provided resources that are supposed to be accessible as well, and sometimes those work quite well and sometimes they're not very good at all. So it just depends. We're not always in control of that.
Okay, we have one question from the viewers. Does every library need to have or revise the digital transformation plan after the COVID-19 pandemic? Who is?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Amirul. So in my opinion, maybe I agree with this statement or with this question that we need to have or revise our digital transformation plan after this COVID-19 pandemic, because as we know, our budget has been cut for the buying physical books, and most of users already turn or transform their interest from physical books to the online content. So maybe after this, a group of library needs to sit together and have a discussion among others, and maybe they can what we call share their resources, each academic libraries, national libraries or state libraries, so that all the resources can be utilized by users. Another one, maybe government can add more budget to the libraries to subscribe an online or digital content such as journals and etc. Thank you.
All right. In line with the question, Simon, how frequent should the library transform or revise their technology use in their library? How frequent we should revise?
Oh, that's a really interesting question, isn't it? So libraries have moved on to have very much cloud-based digital services, and that means that we rely on cloud-based vendors to provide those online platforms. So how often should we review those platforms and decide what's working well for our users? How much effort do we put into making them perfect, and then you don't want to go down the path of then having to migrate from one system to another. Look, I think in terms of how often, the online environment changes very rapidly, doesn't it? So I think that's the thing is if the online environment is changing rapidly, we need to change with it. But I'm also finding that we get locked into we often purchase, say, for example, a 3-year contract with a vendor. When you procure a new system, you go, okay, well, we'll have a 3-year contract, and then we'll renew annually every year after that 3 years is up. So I think you need a period where you embed your services in that platform and you make that work as well as you can. And it takes a lot of effort to embed that platform within your student space or your academic space. And then when you're in that annual renewal period, I think it's definitely worth going in hard in terms of renewal of those services and revising those services. I think we need to put more effort probably into making our vendors accountable for what they produce. So if their online platform is not keeping up with our users, we need to move to another platform. Or we say, look, you really need to. So I think there's a role for the library to be in partnership with our vendors very closely. I've represented a lot of vendor user groups where we partner with our vendors like Ex Libris, for example, where we provide them with the information they need. So they need us to partner with them to tell them what is important for our users, because they don't really know, and it's up to us to tell them. And so the more we partner very closely and carefully with those vendors, the more they can keep up with the online changes. But we do need to review that, definitely.
All right. What about you, Muiz? How frequent UPM review the new technology, and how frequent you guys talk about, do you need to adapt that technology in your library?
Okay, basically in UPM, we are like to use an open source software. Okay, because a lot of because of budget and etc. So we are exploring more on the software that not a proprietary software. If, for example, right now we are using Koha as our library management system, and then we are using ePrints, eSpace for our digital content, and we are also using resource space to manage our digital assets such as photos, videos, etc. And we also using what we call WordPress, Subject Plus, to manage our content about the library. So in terms of digital transformation plan, just for sharing, our library newly transformed all the physical servers to the virtual machine last year. So we are trying to familiarize our staff and our skills to we learn the process on how to manage this virtual machine, because we are still in the process of migrating some of our server and our data to the new server. So maybe it depends on the management also, whether they have they allow for us to change our digital policy maybe 3 or 5 to 5 years, or 5 to 10 years in the future.
All right, Diana, do we have any question from our viewer?
Yes, we have one question from Abdul Wafi Abdul Karim. Any response on the users that don't have or limited connectivity and hardware to access the resources? Simon?
Yes, this issue has been discussed in Australia for some time. We've had a rollout of Australia's had a thing called the NBN, which is the National Broadband Network, which was a rollout of digital fibre connections for the internet to every household and business in the country. And it's been a discussion around the fact that Australia has some very remote communities and they need access to the internet and need good internet access. So that's always a concern. And I guess even thinking about when we all had to rush home and we had to go home and work from home in March, we found that in our library we had about 6 people who didn't have good enough internet access to be able to deliver those services. So it hit us straight away. We could see, okay, there's some issues here, and we had to purchase some, remote dongle modems that people could plug into their computers to connect to the phone network. Unfortunately, that kind of worked okay. But there's still some people who are struggling with that and have had to come in to work to do some of those services because it wasn't good enough from home. And so for our users, that is a big challenge. And, I think that's why we still need that physical library for people to come in and to be able to use those services. And having come from La Trobe University, which La Trobe University is in the state of Victoria, based in Melbourne, but has some remote campuses as well around the state of Victoria and delivers lots of services to remote communities in the state of Victoria. And we're also, La Trobe was also seeing challenges around people finding access to digital content. So, we've had to do as much, as much as we can to be able to enable those access to those resources. So that is a challenge.
All right, let's move on to our third session, which is technology in the library. Simon, Muiz, what are the most popular online services or in highly demanding library service in your library lately? Simon?
So I guess our library is based on, as I mentioned, I guess at the beginning, that we're part of a division called Student Administration and Library Services, and so what that service was set up within our library, I think a couple of years ago, before I came to Swinburne, and the reason for that is that we wanted to connect up the student-facing inquiry services all in one place and all within one division. And therefore, when a student comes and needs to access a service, it's all within the one place. And students don't know who a librarian is or who a librarian isn't. They don't know who they're talking to on the phone, or they don't know who they're talking to online or face-to-face. They just want an answer to their question. So we have a lot of different technologies at Swinburne to help them find answers to questions. So we have chat, which is delivered through our Customer One system, and we have an FAQ portal for that. We have online delivery, a lot of those services, but we also have phone delivery. So at the moment, when everyone went home, they started using Jabber, which is the Cisco Jabber software, which allows you to connect your computer to the phone network. And so when people had to go home and they called up the phone number for the library, they would be speaking to someone who was from home and using Jabber. So that's been highly used. And we have Customer One, which is an interface which allows all of our inquiries to come in the one interface to be able to provide services to our users. So it's that technology that I've been, since I've started at Swinburne, which is only 2.5 months ago, talking to our librarians to make sure that the Ask a Librarian service is embedded in that Customer One, that single interface where students get access to services. And so, but there's a whole lot of things behind that. There's a queuing mechanism, there's Microsoft Teams for that face-to-face delivery, there's chat, there's all sorts of sort of delivery mechanisms in the back end of that, but it's kind of one unified front end interface that we're putting that service in so that we can make sure that it's all in the one place. And if a student comes in and asks for help, they get referred to the expert who can answer that question. So it might be a librarian who has expertise in business, or it might be a librarian who has expertise in nursing, and they can answer those questions around those resources, and they get referred to those different services. Or it might be an enrolment query, it might be how do I graduate, it might be all sorts of queries, it could be anything really. So that's the sort of big usage at Swinburne, and we're delivering those sort of back-end interfaces to support that sort of thing.
All right. Please.
I agree with Simon. So that's what I mentioned earlier. For the highly or demanding services that provided by the library, maybe that's what I can see is the access to the thesis and dissertation online. Because before this, our thesis is only available in campus. That user are allowed to access to the thesis if they come to the library. But after or during this pandemic, we are allowing them to access to the thesis via online or out of campus. And then that's a lot of questions asked from the student through email, WhatsApp, and then live chat on how they can access to the thesis. And some students also ask about how can they borrow a book during this pandemic period. So, but our library still have doesn't allow any physical transaction for the students to borrow a book right now. But they are allowed to return the books to the library. So another highly demanded services maybe the live chat, because we already introduced live chat in since early March. So most of the question came from the live chat and the Facebook Messenger. Maybe this is the new services that can be improved after this. Okay.
All right,
Can
Diana.
can I just mention also that live
sure.
chat is something that the Ask a Librarian service hasn't connected with yet, and I've been working with our team in the university and with IT and our student administration team to get that live chat happening, which is part of our Customer One interface, because that is highly used by our users. But it is interesting the number of we have a lot of phone calls and we have a lot of email, so it's quite traditional in that way. But that's because we haven't really connected up everything all into the different ways that our students can access our services. So we're still working on that.
Yeah, I still believe that, Simon, we need to have a good relationship and engagement, so the student will not only depend on the chat services, they can directly contact the librarian, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so we move to the next. We are already in the session 3, technology in the library. So this is the time. I believe, Simon, you want to share Ask a Librarian service technology use. The second one will be When I Work apps. And the third one, connecting it all up with Customer One. Can you share with us?
I will. Yeah, thank you. Just give me a minute to share my screen. So this screen just shows that what we're doing with our Ask a Librarian service is that so on the 24th of March, our Ask a Librarian service was very much either face-to-face in our libraries, or it was available through email. So when our libraries closed, we had to do a whole lot of work to connect and promote our services to our faculties and to our students. So we've been working hard on how to promote those services, and we've been then experimenting as to how do we bring them together and bring them into the one interface with our students, so that they've only got one place to look and one place to be able to find an answer to their questions. So we've been working on an app called When I Work. So it's wheniwork.com. We're also exploring a Microsoft Teams application called Shifts, to be able to look at how we roster our librarians onto that Ask a Librarian service, so that it's visible to everyone in the team. So instead of having a spreadsheet where we list who's working when and who's rostered on, we've just got an online application where we can ensure that we can see who's rostered onto that service and is providing those answers to our students. So the When I Work application, it's not really an app, it's a website, which is it's really used for rostering and shifts. And so this is a screenshot of what it looks like for our Ask a Librarian service. And these colours here are the different times that different staff are rostered on in that service. So this is this week, you can see Friday the 3rd has nobody rostered, because it was, I took this screenshot a couple of weeks ago, but you can see the different times, the different colours are the different people who've rostered onto that service, and it shows who's rostered on at what time. So if someone gets a call, or they get an email, or they get a connection to that Ask a Librarian service, they know who is rostered on and can answer that. And there's also someone who is a backup at that time who they can refer to pass on a query if it's more detailed for someone else to answer. So we've been using the When I Work app, but we've also then wanting to use Customer One as the interface for our students, because they currently use that in so many places for their student inquiries, and we want the librarian service to be embedded in as part of that. And we've been partly embedded in that service, and partly not. So we're working through how to make that as quick and as easy for our students. They only want one place to connect. They only want it. They want to do it. They don't want to wait online. They want to be able to, and they don't know who to ask. They don't know if they're talking to a librarian or not. And Customer One is an Oracle product. It's sometimes referred to as Right Now as a platform, and it's what we use to connect as our customer relationship management system for our students. And then it has a dashboard. So this is a dashboard which I took a screenshot of recently. And on the top left, it shows emails processed. So at the moment, the Ask a Librarian service is pretty much connected through email and through phone. And this tells you the number of emails that have come in and who they're assigned to and what's happening with them. And there's a queue there called Queue Librarian at, which is the Ask a Librarian service with emails coming in where we connect a student to a librarian who can answer their questions. And then that's what that queue looks like there. We also have Library General, which is just library@swin.edu.au as an inquiry service that's any kind of inquiry. It could be an enrolment inquiry, could be an Ask a Librarian inquiry, and we transfer that inquiry from one queue to another one. And then we have library rovers who also rove around the physical library and provide help. Obviously, that's only just sort of kicked off again a couple of weeks ago. So if I move to the next screen, what we're doing is we're trying to then connect up our librarian queue into which comes through Customer One with Microsoft Teams, so that we can connect up that face-to-face service through Microsoft Teams with an inquiry where someone comes into the library. They get referred to a room where they can connect to a librarian who is at home, or they can send an email and they get connected up and they can use any device that they want. They can use their phone or use their computer or use their computer in a library to connect to that service and be able to have their questions answered. And we feel that it's good to have it all in one place so they know where to go and to be able to answer all of their questions. I'm not sure if I have a screenshot here of what the new Ask a Librarian service looks like. That we only just set up this week, so it's only just started happening this week, and the student gets directed to this particular room in the library. They connect to the computer that's in there, they log in, and then they can connect to a face-to-face connection with a librarian who can answer their questions. And you can see there that there's also the phone connection, there's also the email connection. So that's the Ask a Librarian service online that we're connecting our students to at the moment.
All right. Muiz, what about your digital initiative on live chat, online chat, social media, or perhaps easy access?
Okay, allow me to share my screen. So basically, this is our digital initiative that we have done at the library. We also have our own mobile application that has been launched in early January, and we support Android and iOS platform. So, and as a live chat, we are using Talk2 application, also an open source software that allow us. But we still have, if we need to use additional function, we need to subscribe to this Talk2. So another one, let me share about the initiative done by the Malaysian Information System Librarian, also known as MySYL. So we also have in Malaysia, we have Malaysian Thesis Online, also known as MySYL. This portal compile all the newsfeed, academic newsfeed, library's content on the thesis and the dissertation. And MySYL also developing Malaysian academic library institutional repository. All the content in the library IR have been compiled together and indexed and harvested into this platform. And the third one is we have a Malaysian Academic Library Union Catalogue, also known as Market, whereby this is a platform where a union catalogue of all public university libraries and the government JLC university registered under Ministry of Higher Education, with index their bibliographic records and put into this platform. All of these platforms are using GoFind software. And the one is, this is our UPM thesis interface. Okay, we have put all the thesis full text over here, which can be downloaded by the registered students only. And then, okay, this is our discovery service using GoFind. in this discovery service, we are indexing 4 main applications in UPM library, especially for the Koha web OPEC. We are also indexing UPM IR, UPM ETC, and UPM MyIR. Okay, and this is the interface for the UPM IR. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
today we have about almost 62,000 records, including
Mm-hmm.
articles, thesis, uh, journals, article, conference paper, newspaper cutting, and etc. in this
Mm-hmm.
IR. So this is our new platform also, PSAS e-learning. In this platform, we are uploading all the content for the library training and the library education material for the student. For example,
Mm-hmm.
how to use web OPEC, information strategy, slides and video, and etc. And then this is our platform for digital archive. We are upload our image, video through this portal. And then this portal we are using resource-based platform, also an open access, open source software. And then I think that's all. The digital initiative that can I share for today.
Does the mobile apps, the initiative by UPM, is accessible for outside users, or is
Yeah,
it for campus also?
yes. Basically, this is the first our first version of our mobile application, which has
Mm-hmm.
been developed before MCO, and then we
All
launched
right.
this
Uh-huh.
application before the pandemic. So we have monitored the users.
Mm-hmm.
Not much student download this application yet.
Uh-huh.
Almost 100 to 200 users already download this application. I think maybe this number is still quite small. If we can look to the user and the library user, we have about 15,000 users, registered users, students, and staff at UPM. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe
All right.
after this, we need to look and then strategize what can we add to our mobile phone, mobile app, okay, so that more people can use and utilize this mobile application.
All right.
You can
We
download this application to Android, but for iOS, they have an extra step to download.
All right. Simon, we have one question from our users. How you measure the level of digital service provider? I mean, in terms of the success, I believe. Is there any analytic tools to use to analyze that?
Yeah, this is a bit of a passion of mine. So we do have we use Tableau for doing queries of some of our databases to be able to understand the usage of them. So we use Easy Proxy logs to understand what our users are doing, and we use Splunk, which is the system that manages those log files. And then we can use that to query and get results as to what our usage of our resources is. Apart from what you get from the vendor itself, what Easy Proxy gives us is we can link it right back to the users that are the actual users themselves, because we log the user ID in those log files, and then we can match that back to which schools, which faculties, which departments, which courses are engaging with which resources. So we've done a little bit of that. We haven't done a lot since I've come on board at Swinburne, but it's something that we're going to be doing in the future to try and understand. I think there's a real opportunity for us during COVID-19 to say why the library is of value, and the fact that our usage of resources has gone up. But just saying our use has gone up doesn't really tell you a lot. So being able to query those log files to understand exactly what our users are doing, how long they're staying on particular resources. Usage going up might be because they can't find what they want. So we want to be able to query that and understand what that usage is and how we link that back to student success. So we've also been able to do a little bit of work to link people's student results in terms of how they've gone in their studies with the use of the resources in the library. So I think that's a really key analytical tool that we're going to be doing in the future to understand what our users are doing.
All right.
Okay, we move to the next questions. I believe there are many ways in which content can be delivered to students both in and outside of the classroom, even outside of the library. I believe Librarian has taken this as a positive way in terms to familiarize and increase their skills. Maybe Simon and Muiz, you can explain more about the delivery using Canvas. I believe recently Scopus have done their program in terms of Scopus certified librarians, online teaching. Maybe you can share about using Zoom, Blackboard, Collaborate, and also MS Team. Simon?
Yes, so the Canvas is our learning management system at Swinburne, but Swinburne's a bit like a lot of other Australian universities where we have some schools and departments who still do their own thing. So Blackboard Collaborate is also a learning platform that some of our faculties use. And we've been using Zoom and we've been using Microsoft Teams to deliver our online teaching that our librarians have had to deliver from home. So it's been a real journey for some of our librarians to engage with all of those platforms. Fortunately, our librarians who have expertise, our librarians are aligned with a particular faculty. So we have 3 faculties at Swinburne, and we have a team for each of those faculties. So often it means that one faculty will be focused more on Blackboard, so we use that for our teaching. Another faculty might be focused on using Zoom, so we use that. And then another one might be using a different tool like Microsoft Teams. Each of them are linked from Canvas as the sort of single platform where students go and log in and find their information about their subject that they're studying. But the online delivery of that teaching, can be across different platforms. So our librarians have had to adapt pretty quickly to make that work really well. Some have been delivering that kind of online teaching for some time, but for some of them it's also where we had to quickly provide materials that we could produce that we put online. And I've got a screen shot which I can show now, I think, which is a screenshot of Canvas at Swinburne, where we've put a number of our online videos that we used to engage with our students. And so Canvas is quite flexible. We have I guess a setup, a course shell is what it's called in Canvas, which is called Library Resources. And what we do is we get students to actually, they enroll in that course, and then they can go through one of these areas to find the information resources and learn about what they need to know from a library perspective. And we get about, at the moment, we're getting about 1 or 2 students per day who enroll in this online course, and then in the busy times of the semester we get a lot more than that who actually go in there, and we can track exactly the numbers that are going in there and actually using our resources, which is a really good thing. And then we also partner with our academics to deliver live online delivery of those courses, of that teaching around, and that could be things like systematic reviews, could be how to use EndNote, it could be how to find information resources and referencing skills in a particular discipline. Could be a range of things that we deliver to our students through the online platform.
All right. Luis?
Okay, respond to this question, maybe similar with Simon, we at UPM also we are using Zoom for our online classes, and we have different choice of platform actually. Our staff, especially for the librarians, they are allowed to use Zoom or Webex, and sometimes they are using Google Meet to conduct the online classes. But some of them familiar or like to use Zoom rather than Webex and Google Meet, because maybe the flexibility of the platform that allow them to communicate and easy for them to use Zoom during the online classes. So in terms of online teaching also, we have a Center of Center of Academic Development in UPM, also known as CADE. They are responsible to develop and manage all the online and or open learning contents in UPM. So I think maybe last 2 weeks we have do some discussion with them in order for us, library and CADE, to cooperate or working together to develop content for the library content, especially for library education content material for the student, and upload this content to the open learning platform at UPM. So maybe after this, we can work with kids. Okay, thank you.
All right. Obviously, COVID-19 pandemic has changed library and our users to use technology to communicate, to do research, doing transaction, and many more else. Before Simon and Muiz conclude our session for today, we would like to remind you guys on the e-certificate. To obtain the e-certificate for our session today, please apply by filling out our e-form provided by TS Amirul in our comment section. All right. With that, Simon, Muiz, conclusion for today's sessions?
Simon.
Yeah, am I going ahead? Yeah, look, I think there's lots of learnings we can have around COVID-19. You know, I think you've probably seen that our librarians have shown that they have really good skills and have adapted really quickly to be able to deliver everything online. I think that's very admirable, and they've done a fantastic job. And then I think in the future, it's really understanding, how we can then align that with our users' needs and understand how our users have gone through that journey and keep improving those services. I think that's a really important thing for us.
As my final words, I would like to thank to Librarians IDEAS team, especially the Dr. Faisal, Puan Diana, TS Amirul, and Ikwan, for giving me this opportunity to join this session. And I would like also to thank to Encik Salihuddin, Chief Librarian, University of Malaysia, because he's the one who called me to join this session. And then thank you Simon also, because he's sharing a lot of new ideas, new technologies, and new things that I haven't heard before, such as Primo, Canvas, and etc. So maybe after this, we can explore on this all new platform and can be utilized by us at the library. And that's all. Thank you.
All right.
Apologies, my camera has just turned itself off. I don't really know why. Trying to get it back. But anyway, it's one of those things. It must have known it was the end of the session. I'm not quite sure what happened.
It's okay. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much to our panel today, Simon and also Muiz from UPM. Not to forget, a big thank you to our friends, supporters, followers, viewers from Australia, India, Pakistan, Filipina, Indonesia, Singapore, and everyone, no matter where you are. Thank you very much for your unwavering attention throughout these live sessions. So that's all. Till we meet again in the next session. See you. Have a nice weekend and take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.